I guess where do you foresee things going? Where do you think that things are going to go next?
Yeah, I think the basics of what I'm going to be doing over the next couple weeks and stuff, I've been kind of thinking about a bunch of different stuff, but like I feel like I've gained a little bit of muscle mass in the last several weeks, and I'm like, you know what? I should just I'm not going to work on getting bigger. I'm still going to stay well below 230 and probably stay more in the 220-ish range. I was thinking about like, I should make that push towards that 200. For my birthday. My birthday is December 10th. So it would be kind of perfect to start to do that now or now-ish. But at the same time, it just does, I don't know. Nothing's really calling to me at the moment. So I think what I'm going to do is just like continue to eat the way I'm eating and just to continue to dial in the diet and just make it like insanely healthy. I already feel like what I do is very healthy. But when I was doing the sugar diet and consuming like, the candy and consuming like, I guess excess carbohydrates in the name of the experiment, I was like, I don't really need that. So, why consume something that you don't really need? So I can see eliminating some of that. And by some of that, I just mean like maybe a little less honey, maybe a little less maple syrup, maybe more fruit rather than fruit juice, stuff like that. Just small changes, nothing big. But yeah, that's where I kind of see things, and I see things of like, hammering the protein, maybe messing around a little bit more with the intra and post workout stuff, and maybe keeping the carbohydrates kind of around the workout. The honey and sugar and all that stuff, I'm still going to consume that. But over the last couple days, I just started to consume less of it. Like, I just don't think it's not really, it kind of reminds me of the carnivore diet. It feels like I'm not getting extra benefit from it. So then if I'm not getting extra benefit from like being more carnivore, then why would I continue onward with that? And why wouldn't I free up my diet a little bit? So this feels the same way. If I'm not going to get, so I'm consuming sugar and I'm consuming carbs and stuff like that. But if I consume more carbohydrate and I don't feel like I'm getting like more kickback from it, then really it's just like extra calories, extra food that I don't need. So those are the kind of things I'm trying to examine and trying to figure out. And I feel awesome right now. I mean, minus this, thing that I've been working on with my heel. I feel awesome. I actually even feel like explosive, but I just haven't even had an opportunity to really express that, except for with a little bit of the stuff that we did with Josh Bryant. But I wasn't even really able to express what I can do because my heel is still damaged. And so in talking to a lot of people about this particular injury, other runners and stuff, they're like, oh, like they all know about, they're like, okay, yep. They're just like, it just takes a year. You got like 8 months, a year. It's almost as if I ruptured my Achilles tendon. It's almost, it's not as bad because I don't believe I did tear anything. But it's similar in the sense that like, you're just like on the shelf for a while. I may push a little bit of running coming up just to kind of see, like running makes it sore, but doesn't seem to cause any issues. So I was considering like, oh, maybe I'll just do, like every 30 seconds, just jog, like light jog, 12-minute mile pace, and then walk in between. 12-minute mile pace, walk in between, and start to maybe try stuff like that, maybe a couple times a week. That's where this whole thing started anyway, was the whole thing started with me doing, run jogs or walk jogs rather. And maybe I'll see if I can implement some of that and see, I don't know, see if I can handle that. If I can handle that, maybe I'll just try more of it.
I got one more question.
Yep.
About protein. So I know when you're doing the sugar diet, some days you were doing like 100 grams of protein,
right.
And then there was other days you were doing basically no protein.
Right.
And then I think before you were at about 200 grams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess my question is, do you think that there is like a middle ground between those two? Like, do you think that you could get by with less protein without any detriment to your athleticism, your performance, or your muscle mass?
I would believe so. I think that, so not eating protein for like a whole day, I don't think is like a detrimental thing. I think, people have fasted and done all kinds of things. People will intermittent fast and only have one meal a day. So they'll be deprived of the normal protein numbers that we hear about. Somebody might have, 80, 100 grams of protein, and they might weigh 200 or 225 or something like that. To me, that's still not really that low of protein. Half your body weight in protein, or even like half your lean body weight in protein. Like for me, if I had, you know, 85, 90 grams of protein on some days, I think that I could do that. I don't know if it will have any more positive health outcomes. I suppose that maybe it could, and maybe it's a decent thing to experiment with. Maybe it will impact um, my glucose metabolism in a positive way, perhaps. I don't know. So maybe it's worth trying, but I think that I'll end up there anyway because I'm still utilizing fruit fast, sugar fast, 1 to 2 times a week. And when I do that, it prevents me from eating like a lot of protein. And I think in general, I think you're bringing up a good point because, yeah, I think like, ideally, I'm just going to be like, okay, let me have, 200, 225 grams of protein. Um, that's sort of a goal. But also, like, if I fall 20, 30, 40, 50 grams short of that here and there, I don't see any problem with it because the way I look at it nowadays is more, I look at it almost like more on like a weekly basis. And if I'm getting that protein in, like everything should be good. I do feel like, it's kind of hard to compare stuff sometimes because when I was doing sugar fasting, I had intention of like losing weight. And I was also probably not always eating maybe even enough. Although it felt like I was eating a lot. With what I'm doing now, it's like I packed muscle on. It feels like kind of quickly. And you could say, oh, it's because he ate more protein, but I don't even really know because I don't even really know where my calories were before. So I think, kind of as always, like the overall amount of energy you consume is probably like one of the most important things. And your protein is really high up there too. And I think that protein, it protein is only like 2 calories per, I think, or maybe even 0 calories instead of the 4 that it's given, is kind of my own little side theory. But back to kind of what you said, yeah, I think there is a happy medium between the two. And I would say that it's a good idea for the people that are on the lower end of protein to work on pushing their protein a little bit, to work on bringing their protein up a little bit. And some of you that have been just hustling and hammering a lot of protein for years and years, it might not be a bad idea to just lower it a little bit and just kind of see how you feel. Um, I think most things start with it's the word I'm looking for. So like side effects. Most investigations start with like side effects. So do you have trouble sleeping? Do you pee a lot? Do you have trouble? Do you have a lot of gas? Do you have trouble digesting your food? Like if there's some things popping up where you're like, oh yeah, it might be worth just lowering your protein to see if it does any of those things. Not even that protein is like the main driver of any of those things, really, but it's just an interesting thing to experiment with and sort of see how you feel with it. I do know this. I know that for me, the protein later in the day, there's something awesome about that. The fruit during the day and the protein later in the evening, protein feels slow and fruit feels fast. If that makes sense to you, like protein, you eat a bunch of protein and you're kind of like, whoa, Like you have a couple chicken breasts and some rice and stuff. It's not like you still can't do stuff afterwards, but it's enjoyable. It's satisfying. It's like everything, right? Whereas like if you just have some fruit, in the morning, you have like a little fruit bowl or something like that. It feels like you still can be, doing, you can still go on a run. You could have like a small fruit bowl and maybe a thing of toast with some honey on it and go for a run. It'd be like it would be perfect. Right. And with, if you were to eat like a thing of meat and then try to go run, like it just might take longer to digest and stuff. So I think if there's anything that's come out of the sugar diet, I think that's a big one, is that just leaving that protein later in the day. Like you can do whatever you want with your protein, but I think leaving it to later in the day, to me, there seems to be some really good value out of that. So I really like the way that feels. But I think for myself, the lowest I'll go on protein for some days would be like 75, and the highest that I'll go on some days might be like 300. But the number that I'm going to probably consistently hit is probably more like if you got like an average of it, it'd probably be anywhere between 175 to 225. So it could vary quite a bit, as you can see. If I eat a meal less or two in a day, then I'll be on that lower end. And if I eat a little bit more for a particular day, I'll be on that higher end. Thank you guys so much for listening in. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.